Welcome to the Noizze podcast, sponsored by the Satanic Tea Company, brought to you as part of the Noizze Podcast Network. My name's Will. What you're about to hear is episode 4 of the Noizze Albums of the Year podcast series, talking to some of our favourite bands about, as it says, their favourite record this year, bands they're excited about next year, and what their plans are for next year too. In this episode, I'm joined by Northern Irish thrashers Gama, where I speak to Philly and Joe. Really fun chat, really funny guys. Definitely check them out as well. Also joined by Ash from the Mercurial Sugar Horse. Extremely interesting, doomy, shoegazy. If you like noise, you know who Sugar Horse are. You probably love them as much as we do. And if you don't yet, you should. Last but not least, I've got a special surprise for you. I'm not doing any of the talking in this one. Our co-host Adam, he is joined by the St. Pierre Snake Invasion frontman Damien. Again, if you know Noizze, you know how much we love St. Pierre Snake Invasion. Their new record Galore that came out this year is absolutely fantastic. Might even have come out last year. Time is meaningless. But it's a great chat between two really great friends, and I'd highly recommend sticking around for it. Please also make sure to, if you do use social media, please make sure to follow us on Twitter at Noizze Podcast and Instagram, Noizze Podcast Network. And you can find our main site across Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Noizze UK. It's Noize. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Be sure to listen wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. If you do fancy checking out our Essentials playlist on Spotify, or you want to buy us some merch from us, links are in the bio. You can buy us merch as well, which I was probably going to miss-say it. Links are in the bio anyway. And if you're feeling extra kind, pop us a review on your platform of choice. Helps more than you'd think. Hope you enjoy. Well, thank you for joining me. So I'm joined by Joe from the excellent Gama. Joe, how are you doing today?
I'm getting on great. Thank you very much for asking. Well,
glad to hear it. So what we're doing, as I mentioned to you a minute ago, so with it being the end of the year, the big thing that everyone asks is, what's your album of the year? And it's a hellish process, but we do it anyway. So that is the first thing I'm going to ask you is so what's your favorite thing you've heard that's come out this year?
this year, probably the last Hellripper album, Warlock's Grim and Withered Hags. I thought it was really, really good.
That's brilliant. Yeah. They're a really, really fun band, right? So I remember seeing them open for yourselves, actually, I think last year.
Yeah. They're coming on so well, though. They're just one of those bands that I think they've taken a really original kind of look at kind of black thrash and stuff like that. And yeah, James is he's just a really cool guy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, a friend of mine compared it to Venom if you fed them a steady diet of Motorhead. And it's like, I don't think you're wrong, but and that's kind of like a basics of it. But then if you listen to them, there's more, they're just I think that's a fucking great record. That's a really great shout.
And they have a musicality that bands like Venom never really had. They're really good players and stuff as well, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's mainly just James, isn't it? I think on the records, although live, obviously, there's like a full lineup.
Yeah, exactly. So James does everything in the studio. He programs the drums and does all that kind of stuff. And then the guys who are in the band have been playing with him for about 3 or 4 years. So I guess it's kind of not really dissimilar to Toxic Holocaust, the way that they kind of do things, you know.
Yeah, that's a lot of work though, like doing everything as one person. But I guess it's the creativity as well, right? Like it's all him.
About this, I did an interviewed him a few months ago, and I was saying, if money was no object and you had $1 million, would you want to use amazing session musicians? And he's like, no, I would still have to do absolutely everything myself, you know. So
yeah,
I guess that's
I'd just take the $1 million, thanks.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. What's your favorite track on there, do you reckon?
Oh, to be honest, the title track was brilliant. The second to last song was, I can't remember the title of it, but there was a couple of really kind of nearly progressive things on it. There were like 8 or 9 minute songs and moving in kind of, I don't know, kind of different directions. There's a bit more of a death, like the band Death influence on some of it. And you could really tell James had developed a lot as a vocalist as well. So the vocals are less kind of generic sort of thrash and a lot more kind of deep and growly.
Yeah. Because I remember coming across them a couple of years ago, and they very much, it felt like initially they kind of scratched that itch that like early Skeleton Witch used to.
Yep.
With that, like you said, that like black thrash approach that just was just a ton of fun. And I'm trying to think when else I saw them. I think it was I think they opened for Primordial at one point.
They did. Yeah, they played a show in London opening for Primordial because
Yeah.
I'm good friends with Alan and he was just saying how well they went down in front of Primordial's crowd, you know?
Yeah. Well, seems like a good time. We've got Philly who's just popped in, so I'll let we'll get him to join and we'll ask him as well.
I bet he's gonna have exactly the same answer.
Hi, sorry. Both my kids have just come into the room and told me that one of them has banged themselves in the mouth and the other one has got a wobbly tooth. So I'm going to be back in 1 second.
No worries.
I'm not a fucking dentist. I don't know. Here we go.
Off to do some amateur dentistry on the kids there.
I don't think we've had amateur dentistry on the Noise podcast before, but we can certainly try. While he's doing that, I'll ask you, Mike, the next question, and we'll get his answer to both when he comes back. Hopefully, is so looking ahead. I always love checking out like new bands. I think that's it's the lifeblood of the scene in large part. So I'm really interested in who you think people should be keeping an eye on going into 2024, like bands that maybe they put something out this year, maybe they're going to put something out next year. Just a band that you think deserves more, that are kind of like on that cusp.
Well, it's kind of, I suppose there's two different kind of categories. There's a lot of bands that I love that I wouldn't necessarily are on that cusp, but I think that are very, original. There's a band from Greece called Sacral Rage, and it's really like a mix between Annihilator and Rush. So it's kind of proggy, also really Annihilator style riffing and kind of nearly King Diamond vocals. Those guys are amazing. So they're going to have a new record out next year, and I've been looking forward to it for years, so that's going to be really fun. As far as stuff that's on the cusp, there are some brilliant bands actually coming through in England in terms of thrash, and that hasn't happened in a long time. So like Inhuman Nature, Tortured Demon, especially Pest Control, they really seem like they're going to move forward. And like they're brilliant bands as well, because I think really a lot of the young people they're not really approaching it the way that we did in 2003, where it's like all about the 80s. They're kind of taking a more modern kind of tint on it,
Yeah, I think bands like Power Trip did a lot for that, right? They helped to bring that sort of more modern approach to thrash, and people have really picked up on it. Like the two of the bands you mentioned, Inhuman Nature, I think are fucking great. And Pest Control as well. Seen them both this year and had a great time both times.
Yep, absolutely. And the great thing about Pest Control is they are very DIY, which is the right way to do it. And there's a whole bunch of other great bands. Like, I don't know if you like Cryptic Shift. They're like a progressive kind of death metal band.
I love those guys, yeah.
It's like a mix between Yes and Death or something like that. So they're really cool as well. It's not so hard though for bands to break out these days, because I don't really know if you know this, but labels like Metal Blade and Roadrunner and stuff do not offer tour support to young bands anymore. So the days of bands being able to pay to get onto like a Megadeth tour or something to raise their profile are kind of gone, really, unless the band can finance it themselves.
Yeah, or unless you're on like a label who are putting major clout behind you or whatever, like some of the larger probably do.
No, I'm aware. Obviously, it's a very different scenario to where it was. But yeah, no, Cryptic Shift. I remember I actually saw play their latest record in full. I think it's the latest one. Visitations, I think it is.
Yeah.
And I saw them do that at the sadly now defunct Nambucca here in London.
Right.
Where they played one song off like the EP and then just played the record.
Well,
and like obviously the first song on that record is a good 20 minutes long.
Bit on
considered before saying because we really like the new Gama album and we're thinking maybe should we just go out next year? It's pretty short and learn the whole thing and play it,
I like doing that kind of thing, like with Sea Savage we added like 5 songs to the set, which we hadn't done since Tales, like a huge chunk. Got myself a wee ball of malt there, McGuigan. That's the bush from the last tour.
Spoils of war.
Spoils of war, boy. Had a bottle of bush on the rider. Take it home. Don't tell me it's not pen.
So what we were just saying to Joe, because this is the Noise podcast, like the album of the year podcast episode that we're doing. So we've just been talking about is, and I said I'd put you on the spot when you joined, is first of all, what's your favorite album that's come out, Philly, in 2023?
Metal wise,
we'll go with metal wise for now. And if you've got a pick that's not metal, I'd love to hear it as well.
I'd say Warlock Scream and Withered Hags.
You were right, yeah.
Yeah. I think I don't listen to a lot of metal, but like James blows me away. He really astonishes me. And I got to see him. We played with them at Altfest in Derby a couple of weeks ago. And it was amazing because I got to just like stand right beside the stage and watch their new set, which has Knuckle Levy and loads of other new stuff in it. And it's great. Like they're a really vital and interesting band. Like, and the weird thing is I get a feeling that he's only getting started as well,
Yeah.
Like he's still so young and unpolished, but like the music is so interesting, He's very magnetic, like fucking girls love him and stuff, He's a really interesting fucking dude, Like, and I find all that very interesting, So I would say that I'll have to think about non-metal. I've definitely listened to a couple of.
I would probably go on metal. I would say the new Tears for Fears album, maybe. It was very good.
The Dividing Line, yeah, it was excellent. Yeah. What else was this year? I'm trying to think what else came out this year that was even non-metal. I listen to so little metal. Well, it's kind of hard, it's like you work in the ice cream shop, you're eating the ice cream all day, you're serving the ice cream all day. You don't go home with ice cream,
Oh yeah, no, that makes total sense. Whereas obviously on my side of it, because my part of my job revolves around just listening to it constantly. Even when I'm not working, I'm still kind of like, no, I'm still going to listen to it.
That's one of the things, and I always say this. Joe's sick hearing me say this. That's one of the things I love about heavy metal. It's the true believers and the dreamers that keep it going. Like it's people who just really care about it, who promote it and sustain it, and that's very cool.
I will say though, I think one of my favorite non-metal releases this year is a couple of pop records. First of all is the Caroline Polachek album from February, March.
Caroline Polachek.
Yeah.
Don't know her at all. Right. Let's give it a spin.
Yeah, more sort of like, I don't want to say alternative pop, but definitely like her own lens on it.
Intelligent pop type thing, like
yeah, it's a little bit more challenging in parts. And the other one is the name that got memed across like a good decade ago was like Rebecca Black. She put put an album out this year, and that's fantastic.
Nowadays are really good. She's become like a goth thing, hasn't she? Rebecca Black, no?
It's kind of done sort of like the hyper pop route and that sort of neck of the woods. But yeah, so my next question for you was, so we're just talking about like coming into next year, obviously kind of looking at the bands that you think are kind of, maybe they're on the cusp, you reckon they're going to be doing something huge next year, or just bands that you think more people need to be looking out for, So what would be your pick or like couple of picks for bands that people need to pay more attention to going into 2024?
What do you think, Joe?
I've already answered this question, I'm afraid, Philly.
Cryptic Shift was your one. Okay. There was a band, now I'm going to get their name wrong, at the Old Bell, at the Harry Dog Joe. Was it Desolator or Devastator that we played with that? I think it was Devastator, wasn't it?
Yep.
So I think Devastator are really interesting. They are like in that sort of vein, like, well, they're not a million miles away from Hellripper in that there's a bit of black metal in it and there's a bit of kind of Motorhead in it, but it was done in like a very self-aware, fun way. And they're older dudes and stuff. Their show is very interesting because they're like crustier older dudes with all like makeup slathered on. I think they're one to watch. I think Butcher, who are a speed metal band in Europe, I think they have a lot of potential, and their singer is absolutely amazing. So there's tons to come on that front too. I don't know. Like that's who I've seen where I was genuinely like, what's next for this? Like, where's that going next?
Yeah.
And I suppose that's my bets. That's my bets.
Yeah. So because Joe and I, we talked about like, a couple of thrash bands as well, like Inhuman Nature and Pest Control as like bands that are going to hopefully do something really exciting.
Yeah, like I mean, Pest Control aren't even ones to watch. Everybody's watching them. You know, like that's
for sure. Yeah, I think they're going to be taking that next step. You know, because I saw them at Outbreak this year, in Manchester, and they were absolutely like. I think they only played about 20 minutes, but that was all you needed. You know,
and like I think High Command, the thrash band as well.
Oh, they're really cool. Yeah,
they have a real buzz behind them as well, and are definitely worth keeping an eye on. Pest Control, they're mad interesting. And you know what's crazy? Like, I don't know, Joe, if you see this, but like looking at them, it does remind me of like when we did Citizen Brain. It was very like you can see they're on a roller coaster. Like there's your first album fucking gig 120 times a year. You know, like get out there and do it, you know. So good for them. Like get everything they can out of it. I think they obviously have the patronage of like Municipal Waste and other bands who are like really well respected too. So
yeah. And so last but not least is sort of it's a question that, you know, is actually about yourselves, about Gama Bomb. So the next sort of thing is kind of like what's not just like what have obviously because obviously you put your new album Bats out this year, and that's I feel like it's gone down pretty well. People have kind of really kind of got the teeth into it. Same with Sea Savage when you did that one. But like, so yeah, just like a gentle recap of the year, but also what are you sort of planning to do next? You know, insofar as obviously what you can talk about, you know, what's coming up.
This year was unusual. It was a lot of hurry up and wait. We're in a very strange position now with the music industry because vinyl is obviously such a big deal. But, you know, they're pressing Led Zeppelin 4 so much or whatever that you have to wait ages. So we finished our album and handed it in, and then we had to wait like 7 months to get the vinyl. So we spent most of this year, like the early part of the year was definitely a frenzy of getting the album finished. I was recording right up until well into the spring. And then we sent away the record, and then it was a matter of like, okay, summertime, it was getting music videos shot, and windy pops, pardon me. So yeah, in the summertime it was like getting music videos shot and playing festivals and going to Europe and stuff. We've actually had a pretty nice old year, Joe.
Yeah, it's been lovely going doing festivals and stuff, and we've actually been very, very diligent. With most of the next record actually pretty much done. So me and Philly were actually trading some files and stuff there recently as well. So I would highly imagine by the time we're doing lots of shows next year with a European tour coming up and then some other things in the pipes. By the time we get
UK tour as well.
We'll probably sorry?
We did a UK tour last month too. So that was kind of a big highlight. That was kind of our big Jolly Boys outing for the year, was to do this long UK tour. And, you know, UK has always been kind of like a home country for us, even though we're Irish, obviously. But like, you know, you meet mates everywhere you go and run into your family and stuff traveling around, and you know, like the shows were really well received. So yeah, like it's been a great year. It's been a great year for the band, and it's been a great year for us as a gang of mates, because we've really enjoyed. I think this year is probably one of the most enjoyable years we've had, because we've really enjoyed the festivals we went and did. We've had a nice time enjoying each other's company, partying a bit. You know, the record coming out, and you know, you were saying, I think people have taken to the record really well. Like they got what we were trying to do. And if people can intuit what it was that you were trying to do with it, like let's say some of the reviews you read, they're like, yeah, Gama Bomb are being 80s in a different way, and they're digging in, and it's, you know, it's unself-conscious fun and all this, and it's like, wow, you really got what we were trying to telegraph with this music, and that's very reassuring in a way, you know. So yeah, we've had great fun with that, and as Joe says, we've got most of the next record kind of done already. Well, half the record done, and we're gonna get the next part of it dusted off, and the label are saying early 2025, which I would love to do. I would love to just get the next one done and have it follow up in 2025, because I feel like we're in a really good place creatively with it. We're very democratic, it's very ego free, and it's like that can't last forever, so we may as well just juice it, you know. And then like we're going to do a European tour in March, a short European tour with Reset, who are a cool European speed metal band. We're doing a short Irish tour with Party Cannon in February, We're going to do some summer festivals. We're going to drink some whiskey, make some mistakes.
Yeah. Some friend of mine's like really like has really gotten into Party Cannon lately as well. I think they're a ton of fun as well. Like a band that I love their logo. You know,
it's amazing. Yeah, like, and the way that it became a meme, that death festival that had the Party Cannon logo.
Yeah, like it's perfect, isn't it? It's like just do what is right for the band, and everyone picks up on it because it's like everyone else is so serious about it, and then there's your label.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like their branding is amazing. The fact that on those death metal festivals, there's this one logo that's in bubble writing is like, that's it. That's the band to go and see. Yeah, and they're really cool. Chris is a really, really cool dude. I talk to him quite often, and we're really looking forward to hanging out with them and doing that. So yeah, and it's amazing to be at a stage now where other bands who prize nonsense so highly exist, you know?
Absolutely. Well, I think that's everything from our side. So thank you very much.
Okay, it's quite straightforward. Thanks, Will.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for joining me. So I'm joined today by Ash from the excellent Sugar Horse. Ash,
hello.
how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. It's cold, but resolutely refusing to put the heating on. Can't imagine it's much warmer in your van.
No, for listeners at home, I'm sat in the back of the van because my kids are in bed. It's very rock and roll.
We've made a bet with my housemates that the first person to put the heating on puts extra money on the utilities next month. We're all really fucking stubborn.
Nice. Yeah, our heating went on a while ago. Because we have a small baby, which has been quite nice, to be honest. I'm one of the people that would like put the heating on like once a year when I'm like almost dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of like luxury. I'm sure it won't feel like luxury when the bill comes in though.
Yeah, then you'll be like, oh, for God's sake, why did I think that?
So I can't eat.
So to get to what we're doing, so today, obviously with it being coming up to the end of the year, hence the drop in temperature as well, everyone starts talking about albums of the year. So that's what we're here to talk about today, first of all. So just gonna be a quick chat first of all. But like for yourself personally, what's your favorite record that's come out this year, whether it be within metal or not?
There's been like a few. This has actually been a pretty good year for like heavier stuff for me. Normally I'm like it's kind of a mix of a ton of stuff, and I maybe get like one heavy record that I really like, but lots of the records that I really like this year have been heavy, which is strange for me. But it kind of just speaks volumes for how much good stuff has been released. But the one I'm gonna pick isn't heavy. Well, depends on your definition of heavy, but it's a band from the US who sadly, like a few weeks ago, I think, broke up just after releasing this record. But it's a band called Sprain. They're on a label called The Flenser. They released a record called The Lamb as Effigy, and it's like, I don't know, it goes off in a ton of different directions, but lots of it's quite like angular and discordant, but kind of Fugazi-ish groovy stuff. But then there's a couple tracks that are like just organ and like mad drone, and it's very like it's a very sad boy record, but it's like very weird at the same time. Like it's not very straight ahead at all. I think it's incredibly inventive, and I really dig it.
You mentioning them has actually made me remember that I did see about that, and I saw that it came out. I was like, I really need to check that out because the Flens has got some really good, interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did see their breakup announcement as well, and everyone's suddenly going, "Wait, what? Like you've just dropped this incredible record, and then you're done?" Which I mean, I respect moves like that. You know, when Gulch did it and just went, "Yeah, we're way more popular than we wanted to be. See ya."
yeah, I'm into that. I'm not really sure why the breakup happened, but yeah, the record is like unbelievable, and like I don't like records that sound like super polished, and this is like just the right kind of polished for me. Like it still sounds really like raw and abrasive, and and then the big kind of like epic droney tracks sound as big as they should as well. It's really cool, and it doesn't sound like anything else I've ever heard, I don't think.
It's a fine balance to strike, isn't it? When you want people to be able to tell what's being played, but you don't want to lose any of the power of it.
Yeah, it's difficult now. Like, I would say that like the vast majority of records I hear, I think they sound overproduced, which sounds weird. It's like, especially in the last like 5 to 6 years, I think it's like everything is very, very produced, and like drums especially. Like I find it really hard to listen to like modern drum production because all of the drums sound like they were recorded in different consonants, and I like a drum kit to sound like a kind of one instrument. I don't know, it's weird. But this sounds really cool to me. It sounds like really, I mean, records don't necessarily have to sound like as natural as possible. Records that sound unnatural are cool as well, but I think this record needs to sound natural, and it sounds really natural. It's awesome.
If you had to pick a single track off it to recommend people, which would it be?
It would definitely be Margin for Error, which is like, I think it's song 3, and when I say song 3, it's 24 minutes long, and it's kind of it's a big like drone track that follows on from 2 like quite angular like discordant things, and then like this just big 24-minute drone thing comes in, and it's like it takes it, well, obviously it takes a while. It takes a while to get going, but it's just phenomenal. Like it's not repetitive at all. Like there are no repeating sections either. It's like the singer's almost like rambling over it, but the vocals are written in such a way that it kind of builds momentum over time. It's great. It's great.
That's sort of like ramble in the kind of like chat pile sort of way, or?
No, it's a little more like old screamo or something, I guess. Like,
okay,
like there are some sections in old like Page 99 songs, I guess, that are like where they're talking but like kind of on the cusp of doing shouty, screamy stuff, and it like builds. It's quite cool.
Okay, sounds really interesting. Actually, it has been on my list to check out forever, so I'm going to have to do it now. Now that I've filed my lists.
Would recommend. It is. I would warn anyone going in to listen to it for the first time. It's an hour and a half long, so set aside some time.
Okay, maybe not tonight then, but yeah. That was like the first time I listened to A Dawn to Fear, and like afterwards I went, oh, that was an hour and 20 minutes of just gone in the blink of an eye, you know. Because I love that record, but yeah, I didn't realize it was that long the first time.
I did that with that Bell Witch record, like a couple of years ago. That was just like
Mirror Reaper.
Oh wow, that's sapped up a huge section of my life in a good way.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. Okay, so moving on from like stuff that's come out this year now, my next sort of question is bands that you think people need to be paying more attention to going into 2024. Like, I do often say like pick one, but I think there's always room to be like, no, I think given how good our scene is at the moment, there's always, I'm more than happy to be like, get a couple of bands in there.
Cool. I'm gonna blast through 3, and I'll be really quick on each one. First one's a band that is I guess you'd call them like a hype band at the moment, I suppose, but they're getting lots of like coverage, but I think for very good reason, because they're amazing. They're called Mandy, Indiana.
I know the name.
Like they're like industrial noise band where the singer, she kind of does spoken word stuff but in French over the top, and it's like completely atonal dance music essentially with like just white noise guitar. It's great, super inventive. It's almost like Gilla Band a bit, but more techno oriented. It's nice. Their record's great, and they're bound to do even better stuff, I reckon. The other one was a band called Wednesday, who put out a record called Rats or God. Like, earlier this year. I can't remember what month, but they're like from the outset, you think they're going to be like a pop punk emo band. But I think they sound like a big like Smashing Pumpkins, like almost shoegaze grunge thing. They're really cool, really melodic. They've got really good songs. They write really good melodies. It's good. It's good pop music. And then the last one, there's a band called LLNN from Denmark who are awesome, but they're not the pick. They just kind of changed lead singers. There's a guy called Victor, who is now doing like lead vocals and playing guitar for them. And his like other band called Eyes released a record earlier this year called Congratulations, which is like, yeah, I don't actually like the term hardcore because I don't think it like really means anything, but it's almost like a punk rock record, but it's very like simplistic and brutalist, but very strange at the same time. And the songwriting's really good for that kind of punk, and it's really stripped back, and the ideas are amazing. So yeah, those three records.
Not familiar, like I said, I've heard of Mandy, Indiana, not the other. I've not had time to check the other two out yet. But Eyes, I really liked that Eyes record from earlier this year. I don't know. We've got mutual friend Adam who will not shut up about it because he's a big fan. And like, I get it. You know, they're a really interesting band. I really like LLNN as well. But yeah,
I love that band. Well, I saw them Arctangent with Victor for the first time, and they like blew me away, and they were like properly terrifying. Like it's like that whole opening bit where he came on to like the electronic track and it was just him, and I was like, who is this man? I need to hear what else he's done. And I put on that record, I was like, this is phenomenal, so good. So it seems whatever he touches is gold, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, big fan of the Eyes record, so we'll definitely keep that as the big pick. Yeah, so last but not least is to talk about you. It's all about Sugar Horse. So obviously you've just put out your new EP, Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, which is an interesting one in that it's actually, although it is obviously split into little sections, it's one song.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, you've kind of termed it as a meditation on like the note A, right?
Yeah. Most of it is just the note A. I would say 80% of that song, like instrumental wise, is just the note A. So it's just kind of a big drone track with some, I guess, interesting rhythmic stuff to make it seem like an actual song for people. But we really like doing that kind of stuff where you make stuff as simple as humanly possible. And see what you can do around that simplicity, I like some technical music, but I don't like technical music that is technical for the sake of being technical. If it's a means to an end, then that's fair. But I'm not impressed by people who can play their instruments very well. I think that's really boring. What I do like is kind of, I guess, like invention in music. If it's inventive and it sounds quite different to other things, I'm into it, and that's what we attempt to do. Probably quite badly, but but we attempt it at least.
Yeah. Well, that EP, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy that, and obviously the record that you did before. But looking ahead, so obviously this is always going to be insofar as what you can talk about. But like, what are your plans coming up for Sugar Horse?
We have a big announcement that will be at the start of next year. That's pretty cool. We've already booked a ton of festivals for next year as well that have been announced, so they're all good. A couple European ones as well, which is nice. And then, there's a big announcement and a big thing that I can't talk about. I mean, I've already said in a couple of interviews that we're releasing an album next year, so I guess that's fine. But beyond that, I can say no more. But yeah, I guess keep your eyes peeled in the first like quarter of next year. And what's that local band's phrase, like big things coming soon or whatever.
Amazing. Okay. Well, no, thank you very much then. That's everything we have time for.
Amazing. Thanks so much, man.
Hello, Damien. How are we doing on this fine evening, sir?
I'm wonderful. Fed, showered, at peace. So yeah, I'm all good, thank you.
Wonderful, wunderbar. How's your 2023 been? Very briefly, has it been a productive year, a good year for you in music and in life?
Yeah, it's been like work has been pretty, I work in apprenticeships. It's been pretty insane. I've had 4 line managers in the last 12 months. Not because I'm terrible to manage, well, maybe, but we've just had a lot of change, so that's been pretty stressful. But music, yeah, it's been good. If we put an album out and it doesn't feel like we've put an album out, it's so bizarre. Like it took 4 years to put that one out, and
yeah,
it felt like it just went in a blink of an eye. And so yeah, but it had a good reception, and people seem to like it. And Paddy, our guitarist, is all of a sudden like this social media guru. He's doing all of our socials, and he's into all like the metrics of Spotify and all that. And he's like, oh, we've grown like 670% up from last year. So we've had 670 people listen to us. Yeah, so there's been some growth, personal and financially and with respect to audience. So it's been really positive. I'm just ready to do another one now. But and then obviously we had Mclusky putting out an EP out, the first thing like 15 years, I think, or something like that, which went down really well. People really liked it, which was a relief, because I was worried that I was going to be synonymous with my favorite band becoming shit. So like, oh well, the 2 guys who were in it before and it was good, still there, and there's someone else in it who wasn't there the first time round and it's shit, so it must be his fault, So
yeah, well, we'll try not to hold that to you if it all goes downhill next year.
If in doubt, blame Falco. That's the
yeah. Not that hopefully Falco won't hear that, but yeah, we'll blame it on Falco. But yeah, keeping on 2023. I agree. Galore from St. Pierre is definitely in my top 3 of the year. Spoiler alert for anyone that's not seen my top 10 yet. But there's been so many great albums this year. I thought it was going to be a weak year for music, and like there's a band that we both love called The Armed, who put out an album this year, which is obviously my top album of the year.
Of course. It was as soon as Tony Wolski started writing it, it was your top album of the year. Like,
yeah, exactly.
As soon as he mentioned, oh, we're going to put an album out next year, you were like, top album.
Exactly. But for you, what was your top album this year? What was one of your highlights?
I've got a few. Do you want me to just go straight in with number 1, or should I do some honorable mentions?
Do some honorable mentions first. I'm intrigued.
Okay, so the Armed album obviously is sensational. Like, it is sensational, and like how they keep developing and coming up with new stuff and pushing that kind of weird pop hardcore thing is just insane. And like, the elements of jazz in this one are just incredible. For me, they're like, they're the most exciting heavy band in the world, I'd say.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely agreed. I mean, no more words needed, really.
Yeah, close second, St. Pierre, but but then the other ones, I really enjoyed John's new album. Obviously, like,
Pick Up the Boys.
The Mandy Indiana album I thought was really, really good. And then my top three. So my top three I've got, which no one will have heard of, I wouldn't have thought, is Genevieve Artadi, an album called Forever Forever. And it's kind of like, it's this weird mix of like jazz and like 60s French pop. So it kind of sounds like Francois Hardy and France Gall and Margot Guyon doing like jazz, and it's wicked. It's really out there, but it's like it's a creeper. It's really good. And then this one, so I had two favorites for ages all year. I think these two albums came out pretty much at the same time, and I couldn't pick between them, but I've gone back to number one a lot more. But so one of them was Post American by MS Paint. Have you listened to that?
Okay. Yeah. I've listened to that like once or twice. I need to go back to it. But
yeah, it's brilliant. It's just like, I think we've spoken before about like normal weirdo music, and like,
yeah.
Definitely that. It's weird and like completely unique, and like really upbeat and positive. It's almost like it's like synth hardcore hip hop, and it's great. And they just look like total weirdos, like very normal total weirdos. But number one is Dog's Body by Model Actriz.
Oh, what a shout! What an absolute shout! So before you dive into it, I saw them live for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, if people listening in see them live as well, they are absolutely incredible.
I bought a ticket for that show about 6 or 7 months ago. Shortly after the album came out, I saw they were playing Bristol, and I was like, right, I'm going in. Bought the ticket straight away. And then my parents were over from Mexico, and they were staying with us for ages. And I was like, amazing. They're going to be able to look after Magnus. And it transpired. My dad flew back to Mexico the day before the show. And so I said to Sophie, I'm going to see Model Actriz tomorrow. She's like, well, who's having the boy?
Fuck. Fuck your parents then.
Yes, I didn't get to see him. I didn't get to see them, but I just think it's like, I don't say this often. It's a perfect album. It's a perfect album, like, and it's so. I mean, look, you can say if you're going to be like really critical for the sake of being critical, like there's a lot of it that sounds a lot like Gilliband.
Yeah.
In terms of like the aesthetic and the delivery of the instruments, anyway. But there's something more to it. It's like it's so theatrical and almost like there's just something, I don't know. It's like cabaret about it, and like it as much as I'm hearing Gilliband, I'm hearing like Liza Minnelli and like old musicals, and like that kind of amalgam of influences just makes it like it's just so unique, and it's dark as well, but then there's a darkness to it. But his lyrics are they're pretty salacious in places. I mean, I'm pretty sure you're meant to be thinking about someone getting jizzed on for the
you're definitely right. Like, and that comes across live as well. Like, it's very, like you mentioned cabaret. The vocalist, can't remember their name, but
Cole, his name is, I think.
Oh yeah. They came out on stage in like a full robe kind of thing, like almost like a sarong, like a David Beckham sarong kind of thing, coming out and like swirling it round, and in the crowd, like very, very sexual as well. Like
he's like, because he's super tall, right? He's like I know he's super tall, but I've seen footage of him, and like when you think of like gay frontman, you think of Freddie Mercury, right?
Number
one. and the motherfucker looks like Freddie Mercury, but even gayer. And like he looks gayer than Freddie Mercury. And like, it like just there's just look, there's a lot of important talk about diversity and representation in music, and I think a lot of times, that can be kind of construed as we have to just put people out front because of who they are. But with this is like, it's an unashamedly, like it's in every ounce of its being, proud of it's a man proud of who he is and his sexuality, and it's a celebration of that. And like, beyond all of that, it's just so unique and incredible that it it had to be my number one. It is like, it's just a triumph. It's an absolute triumph of an album.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I agree. I think that's defo in my top 10. And like I said, having seen them live now, wow, what a band. And yeah, recommend everyone listen to that album and go and see them next year. I think they've just been announced for Primavera, so hopefully they'll do some shows in Europe, in the UK next summer. So
go on, sorry.
Yeah. So going into next year, talking about next year, what is a band or an act that you would shout out for next year for people to keep an eye on?
I mean, so I've been thinking about this, and I'm not that au fait with what's coming out next year. What I would say, like, I had dinner with Dev from Idols on Saturday, and I'm very excited about what they're about to do. I think
nice.
From the sounds of it, they're kind of taking it to a completely different place, which is, I feel like St. Pierre did that with Galore, but we don't have an enormous fan base, and it's not, we're gonna, turn away a load of fans, and our record sales are, in danger of dwindling because of that. With a band the size of Idols, like, to take creative risks takes a significant amount of bravery, and I think, I think people will be in for a surprise. But if we're talking about bands that perhaps people aren't that familiar with, I think El Moono have got an album out next year, and we toured with them this year. They were one of the main supports for the Galore tour, and I think they could put a dent in the UK scene next year, because they've got some big old songs and some big old riffs, and they seem to have like upped everything, really. So yeah, I think they could be the ones in the UK other than Idols.
But yeah, I agree with both those shouts. Like, seeing Idols, they played I'm doing inverted commas because people can't see, a small show in London a few weeks ago, and I went to that, and they played the new single Dancer, and they played one other new track, and yeah, very interesting. Just seeing Dancer live was great, but hearing that other new track, it's like you say, it's definitely a different direction, and I'm intrigued to see what comes. And then for El Moono, I was chatting to a couple of those guys when I was down in Brighton recently, and they were telling me about the songs they've been writing, and obviously they've been playing a couple live as well. And I think you agree. I think I said a while back, Black Peaks passed away a few years ago, and El Moono are definitely one of those bands that could fill the Black Peaks gap if they get given the opportunity.
I think so, and they're all they're really, really lovely human beings. That they're just it was a joy. It was a joy. It was great to spend time with them, and they want it. Do you know what I mean? They're like you meet some people who like present like they want it, but then maybe don't conduct themselves in a manner that would suggest that is really at the core of who they are. But with El Moono, they like, having spoken to them, they're in it they're in it to win it, and I don't I don't suspect that they're going to half-ass anything. I think they're just going to attack it and go for it, and hopefully it finds the audience it deserves, because there's nothing better than seeing people you like doing well. So
yeah, totally agree on that. And yeah, they're definitely a band that Noizze have backed for a while, and we will continue to back those guys. So to finish up, my friend, talking about other bands, what have you got going on next year? You've obviously got Mclusky and St. Pierre, but what's roughly in your plans and in your calendar?
So Mclusky are off to Australia to start a tour in January. So like Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide, Brisbane, and Perth. And then we're back for a little bit. We're going to try and finish off the second half of an album in February. And then we're off to America. Sorry, the United States of America. North America, sorry. We're going to North America.
Hashtag play Brazil.
I know. I do it all the time. We go, "Oh, we're playing America," and like our old manager Graham's like, "You're playing North America, man. Come on." So we're doing all of the America, and so we're out there for 3 weeks, and then the plan then is hopefully to do some Mclusky festivals, or festivals with Mclusky, not a festival. And
the next not fest, but
all of the festivals called Mclusky, we'll be doing them. But no, the plan then hopefully for Mclusky is to kind of see where we are in terms of being able to release. So we'll maybe release an album at the end of next year. More likely it'll be 2025. And then with St. Pierre, we're looking at festivals, and we've put our hat in for our name in the hat for some supports, which would be nice if we can get them. But then I've started writing album 4 already, so I've got a couple of demos done. So
amazing.
So I'm the plan is to keep that momentum moving. So either 2025, if we've got the time, or 2026, early 2026, release the follow-up to Galore. So yeah, hopefully a busy year, a really, really busy year. But
nice.
Yeah, it'd be nice. And maybe have another baby. I don't know. Why not? Life isn't complicated enough. So
exactly. Don't want to throw another human in the works. But no, mate, that sounds all amazing. And I think anyone listening to this would, if you haven't listened to Galore, go and listen to Galore, and all the other St. Pierre stuff as well. Well, you say it might be 2025 for the next St. Pierre album. It's more likely 2030, more like, knowing you guys.
I mean, going off our current hit rate, it'd be 2027.
Oh, there you go. So there you go. That's a more accurate date then.
But no, it's going to be 2.5, 3 years max. There's no 4 years this time. We need to just get some stuff out. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna write 2 albums consecutively. So I've got the aesthetic and the theme for the next one, and I've already kind of gone, okay, well, where could we go after that? And so I'm just gonna do them, get it all in the bank, so that we're just ready to go, get in the studio, get them done, go back out on tour, become the biggest band in the world.
Oh no! I wish you all the best, and I hope you do become the biggest band in the world, mate. Because I'll be there front and center.
I've got more chance of getting a tan than so.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for coming on, mate, and all the best for next year.
Yeah, always a pleasure.